I refused to buy my sister a 35K Audi, so my family burned my college acceptance letter. I stayed silent, pulled one string after another, watched their loans and comfortable life collapse when the ATM finally disappeared. I am 24 years old, male, and work as a financial analyst making $78,000 in Denver. I've been my family's unofficial bank for 3 years. This is the story of how I went nuclear and destroyed their comfortable lifestyle after they destroyed my future. I graduated from the University of Colorado with a finance degree summa cum laude while working 30 hours a week at various jobs to pay my own way through school. I received zero help from my family. I paid every cent myself through student loans, part-time work at my accounting professor's firm, and living on nothing but ramen and peanut butter sandwiches for 4 years straight.
Sister Ashley is 21 and represents everything wrong with our generation.
Picture the most entitled, materialistic person you can imagine, then multiply that by 10. She works part-time at a makeup counter, making maybe $950 a month when she actually shows up, but acts like she's some kind of celebrity entrepreneur with a lifestyle to maintain. Here's what Ashley's typical week looks like. She wakes up at noon. She spends 2 hours getting ready for her 4-hour work shift. She posts endless social media stories about her hustle and building her empire. She shops online during her lunch break using money she doesn't have. She comes home and complains about being financially stressed while planning her next shopping spree. This girl has never worked for anything real in her entire life. When she was 16, she wanted a car, so Dad bought her a nearly new Honda. When she crashed it 6 months later texting while driving, Dad bought her another one. When she wanted to pursue her dreams in community college, Mom and Dad paid for everything while she changed majors 4 times and finally dropped out to focus on her personal brand. Our parents, Michael and Patricia, are classic enablers who created this monster through 21 years of giving her everything she wanted. Dad works as a regional sales manager for a pharmaceutical company making decent money. Mom handles bookkeeping for a local dental practice part-time. They should be financially comfortable, but they live paycheck to paycheck because they cannot say no to Princess Ashley. The family dynamic is simple. I'm the responsible one who never asks for anything, handles his own problems, and somehow that makes me the designated family bailout fund. Ashley is the baby who deserves everything handed to her because she exists and occasionally graces us with her presence. For 3 years running, every time there's been a financial crisis, and trust me, there's always a financial crisis in this house, my phone rings. Car payment bounced because Ashley spent her paycheck on makeup? Call Ryan. Credit cards maxed out again? Call Ryan. Ashley needs money for her latest business venture, which was selling overpriced skincare products for exactly 2 months before she got bored? Call Ryan. I kept telling myself it was temporary help just until Dad's next big commission check came through, or until Mom picked up additional clients, or until Ashley got serious about working full-time. But the help never ended. It just kept escalating, and my contributions kept getting bigger while my family treated me like an inconvenience. The really twisted part is that the more I helped, the more invisible I became. The more Ashley screwed up and needed rescuing, the more attention and sympathy she received from our parents. I was caught in this terrible cycle where being responsible made me responsible for everyone else's irresponsibility. Last year alone, I calculated that I'd covered approximately $9,200 in various family emergencies. That doesn't include all the streaming services, phone bill contributions, insurance payments, and random expenses I'd been covering because Ryan is so good with money and it's easier if Ryan handles the financial stuff. I thought I was being a good son and brother. What I was actually doing was enabling 3 adults to live beyond their means while treating me like their personal banking service. 2 months ago, Ashley developed her latest obsession, a brand new Audi A4, not just any Audi. She wanted the Premium Plus package with leather seats, advanced navigation, premium sound system, and every available upgrade. Total price tag $35,000. Keep in mind, this girl makes less than $1,000 monthly when she bothers showing up to work. She's never owned a vehicle worth more than $8,000, which Dad purchased for her, obviously. But somehow in her delusional mind, she deserved an Audi because her social media image required it. Ryan, I need to discuss something really important with you, she announced, walking into my apartment one Saturday morning without knocking. She was wearing an $18 outfit and carrying a designer purse that cost more than most people's rent while complaining about being financially stressed. Peak Ashley behavior. Been doing extensive research, she continued, pulling out her phone with screenshots and detailed notes like she was presenting a corporate business plan. I really need reliable transportation for work and my personal development. The Audi has incredible safety ratings, excellent resale value, and it would significantly improve my professional image. Her professional image. The same person who called in sick 3 times last month because she stayed up too late watching reality shows wanted to discuss professional image with me. Ashley, you work part-time at a makeup counter. You don't need an Audi. That's really judgmental, Ryan. Just because I work in retail doesn't mean I don't deserve nice things. Besides, I'm planning to launch my own business very soon. This was completely news to me. What kind of business? I'm going to become a lifestyle consultant and social media influencer. I already have a complete vision board and business plan, but I need the right image to attract serious brand partnerships and high-end clients. I stared at her, trying to process the logic of requiring a $35,000 luxury vehicle to become an influencer with maybe 180 followers on Instagram. The monthly payments would only be around $520, she continued with practiced enthusiasm, and I already discussed this with Mom and Dad. They completely agree that families should support each other's dreams and goals. That's when I realized this wasn't just Ashley's spontaneous idea. This was a coordinated family assault on my bank account. Carefully planned and orchestrated. Ashley, I'm not buying you an Audi. Her expression immediately shifted from fake sweetness to ice-cold hostility. Wow. Just wow. Your own sister asked for help with something genuinely important to her future success. And you're going to be completely selfish about it. It's not selfish to refuse buying you a luxury car you can't afford. I can afford it, with reasonable help from family members who are supposed to care about my success. She stormed out, slamming my door so hard the entire frame shook. I should have recognized that was merely the opening move in their strategy. Over the following week, I received the complete full-court press treatment. Mom called crying about how Ashley was devastated and hurt by my selfishness. Dad sent me multiple lengthy text messages about family obligations and supporting your sister's success. Ashley herself bombarded me with daily social media messages featuring photos of the car, financing options, and elaborate guilt trips about how I was preventing her from achieving her dreams. The manipulation was so transparent, it would have been hilarious if it weren't so infuriating. Here's what my family didn't know. 8 months earlier, I'd applied to Harvard Business School's MBA program, full scholarship plus living stipend. Basically, they'd pay me $52,000 annually to earn a degree that would guarantee me a $180,000 plus starting salary at any major consulting firm or investment bank. I'd been working toward this goal for 2.5 years, building my professional portfolio, networking with alumni, contributing to finance journals, and volunteering with nonprofit organizations. The application process alone required 4 months of nights and weekends, but I kept it completely secret from my family because I wanted it to be a surprise. Something that might finally make them proud of my achievements instead of just dependent on my income. The acceptance letter arrived on a Wednesday. I must have read it 75 times, trying to make it feel real. Harvard Business School, full scholarship with stipend, research opportunities, everything I'd worked toward and dreamed about. I planned to announce it during Sunday dinner. Maybe celebrate my accomplishment for once instead of dealing with another family financial crisis. That Sunday, I walked into their house to discover all 3 of them seated around the dining table with serious expressions. Ashley had prepared printed car photos, detailed financing paperwork, insurance quotes, and even a maintenance cost analysis. This wasn't going to be a conversation. It was a carefully planned ambush. Ryan, sit down. We need to have an important family discussion, Dad announced in his authoritative business voice. Ashley immediately launched into her presentation. I've completed all the necessary research, and this Audi represents the best investment for my future success. The safety features alone justify the cost, and the reliability will actually save money long term. She'd clearly rehearsed this extensively. She spoke for 15 straight minutes about safety ratings, maintenance expenses, resale values, and how this vehicle was essential for her career advancement and personal brand development. Then came their financial breakdown. They'd calculated that if I covered the down payment, $9,000, and assisted with monthly payments for the first 18 months, Ashley could gradually assume the full payment responsibility herself. It's not like you're using that money for anything important anyway, Mom added helpfully. You live in that tiny apartment, never go anywhere exciting, don't even have a girlfriend to spend money on. Thanks, Mom, really appreciate the life assessment. That's when I pulled out my Harvard acceptance letter. Actually, I am planning to use that money for something important. I got accepted to Harvard Business School, full scholarship with stipend. I handed the letter to Dad and watched his face as he read it for approximately 5 seconds. I witnessed something resembling pride. Then I saw the exact moment it transformed into irritation. Graduate school, he said, like I just announced plans to join a religious cult. More years of being a student instead of contributing to this family's needs. It's a full scholarship, Dad. They're paying me to attend. This could establish me for a career earning $200,000 annually. Ashley rolled her eyes dramatically. So, you're just going to abandon your family for 2 years while we struggle here? I've been helping with your struggles for 3 years straight, I replied, attempting to keep my voice calm. What struggles? She snapped back. We're doing perfectly fine. I almost laughed out loud. Ashley, I've paid your phone bills, streaming services, covered your car repairs, bailed you out when you overdrafted your account 8 times. I've contributed to mortgage payments, utility bills, groceries. Nobody forced you to do that, she interrupted angrily. You literally did ask me. You all did, constantly. Dad cleared his throat loudly. Look, Ryan, we appreciate your past help, but this Audi situation has time constraints. The dealership informed us the financing rate expires this week, and Harvard also has deadlines. I need to confirm my acceptance by Friday. That's when Mom delivered the devastating blow. Ryan, honey, you need to consider what's truly important here. Ashley is trying to build a real life and establish a career. This graduate school thing is it's selfish. You're thinking about yourself instead of your family's needs. Selfish. There was the word I'd been waiting for. Choose, Ashley declared, crossing her arms defiantly. Help me get this car or go play student for 2 more years and abandon your family. I looked at my Harvard acceptance letter in Dad's hands. 2 years at the most prestigious business school in the world. A guaranteed pathway to complete financial independence. The opportunity to finally build something meaningful for myself. I choose Harvard, I said firmly. That's when Ashley grabbed the letter from Dad's hands and walked directly to their fireplace. Oops, she said with a cold smile and dropped my acceptance letter into the flames. I watched 2.5 years of work and planning curl up and turn to ash. The Harvard letterhead, the scholarship details, the program information. My entire future gone in 30 seconds. She's just emotional right now, Mom said casually, like Ashley had spilled coffee instead of destroying my life's biggest achievement. We can work through this situation. No, I said quietly, standing up. We absolutely cannot. I walked out of their house and never looked back. That night, I sat in my apartment, staring at my laptop screen, rage building inside my chest like pressure in a steam engine. They'd destroyed my future to try forcing me to purchase Ashley a luxury car. They'd called me selfish for wanting to better myself instead of funding their princess's lifestyle forever. Fine. They wanted to see what selfish looked like. I'd show them exactly what selfish looked like. That night, I did something I should have done 3 years ago. I calculated the actual total of money I'd given this family. I opened my online banking and started reviewing 3 full years of transactions, transfers to their accounts, payments made on their behalf, subscriptions I was covering, temporary loans that were never repaid. The numbers were absolutely staggering. Monthly subscriptions I was paying: Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Amazon Prime, $67 per month. Ashley's Spotify Premium and YouTube Premium, $18 per month. Mom's gym membership she used maybe twice, $85 per month. Regular emergency transfers, mortgage assistance during Dad's slow commission months, $650 per month average. Utility bills when they came up short, $220 per month average. Major temporary loans never repaid. Ashley's spring break trip to Miami, $2,100. Emergency transmission repair for Mom, $2,800. The total over 3 years was massive. I'd been bankrolling their entire lifestyle for 3 years while they treated me like an inconvenience they occasionally had to tolerate. I was funding Ashley's luxury lifestyle while she called me selfish for refusing to buy her an Audi. But then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Several large transfers I definitely didn't remember authorizing. Round numbers, always during times when I would have been at work or asleep. I called my bank the next morning and requested comprehensive transaction logs with timestamps and authorization methods. What I discovered was absolutely devastating. Someone had been accessing my account through online banking and making unauthorized transfers. The login logs showed access from IP addresses that weren't mine during hours when I was definitely at work or sleeping. They'd somehow figured out my banking password and had been stealing money directly from my account for 8 months. The most recent theft was $6,000 transferred just 4 days ago, precisely when they'd started their coordinated pressure campaign about Ashley's Audi. I immediately called the bank's fraud department and spent 2 hours filing a comprehensive report. Then I did something I should have done years earlier. I logged into every single account I'd been helping them manage and started documenting everything systematically. Their mortgage account revealed they were actually 4 months behind before my assistance began. Their credit cards were completely maxed out with minimum payments being made through automatic transfers from my account. Transfers I'd originally set up but which had been increased without my knowledge or consent. The phone bill I was covering included premium international calling, upgraded unlimited data plans for everyone, device insurance, and monthly phone upgrades that cost more than most people's car payments. They hadn't just been taking my generous help for granted, they'd been actively stealing from me while simultaneously manipulating me into providing even more money. The Harvard letter burning wasn't an emotional outburst. It was a calculated strategic move designed to destroy my independence and keep me trapped as their permanent funding source. $51,000. 3 years of systematic manipulation and outright theft, my future literally burned to ashes to maintain me as their personal ATM. Time for total nuclear war. I requested 3 days off work to plan this properly and execute it flawlessly. If they wanted to play serious games with my money and my future, I'd demonstrate what a real game looked like when played by someone who actually understood finance. First, I changed every single password on every account I'd ever helped them establish or manage. Online banking, streaming services, phone accounts, insurance portals, utility companies, everything. Then I removed my payment methods from all their accounts and canceled every automatic transfer I'd established over the years. But that was merely the beginning phase. You see, during my 3 years serving as their personal IT support and financial coordinator, I'd helped them establish numerous online accounts and automated systems, and because they're all completely helpless with technology, I still had access to most of their financial infrastructure. Phase 1, complete service termination. Canceled all streaming services immediately with no advance notice. Removed my payment cards from their Amazon Prime accounts. Canceled the premium cable package Dad loved. Downgraded their family phone plan to basic service with minimal data. Stopped all mortgage assistance transfers. Removed overdraft protection linked to my accounts. Canceled their cloud storage services. Terminated the gym membership Mom never used. Phase 2, credit score destruction. Here's where my finance background became extremely useful. I knew their credit cards had automatic minimum payments configured from my account. When those payments started bouncing, it would immediately trigger late fees, penalty interest rate increases, and negative credit reporting. I also knew Dad had been using my excellent credit score as a reference for his business loan applications and credit line increases. I contacted all 3 credit bureaus and placed fraud alerts on my credit report, specifically noting that my information should never be used for anyone else's applications. Phase 3, the Audi trap. Remember how excited Ashley was about getting approved for that Audi financing? Well, that approval was based on a co-signer application, using my personal information and credit score, information I had never agreed to provide or authorize. I contacted the dealership's finance department and informed them my identity had been used fraudulently on the loan application. I provided comprehensive documentation from my bank's fraud investigation and formally requested immediate cancellation of the financing agreement. The Audi deal died instantly and permanently. Phase 4, employment consequences. This strategy required patience, but I knew it would be devastatingly effective. Ashley had been calling in sick constantly at her makeup counter job, and her manager was already frustrated with her reliability issues. But she kept missing work because she always had financial backup from somewhere, me, when she needed it. I couldn't directly cause her to lose her job, but I could completely remove her safety net. No more money from Big Brother meant she'd actually have to show up consistently or face real consequences for the first time in her life. Phase 5, social media reality check. Ashley's entire identity was constructed around appearing successful and affluent on social media. Designer clothes, expensive makeup, fancy restaurant dinners, weekend trips, all funded by my loans that she conveniently never mentioned to her followers. I didn't need to do anything directly to her social media presence. Without my financial support, maintaining that fake lifestyle would become completely impossible. The artificial influencer image would collapse naturally under its own weight. By Thursday evening, Phase 1 was fully operational. I sat back and prepared to watch the show begin. Friday morning at 6:45 a.m., my phone started ringing. "Ryan, what the heck is wrong with Netflix?" Ashley's voice was high-pitched with panic and confusion. I don't know. Did you pay the subscription? Why would I pay it? It's always been automatically paid. Not anymore. She hung up immediately. 15 minutes later, Mom called. Ryan, sweetheart, there seems to be some kind of problem with our cable service, and the phone company left a message about a payment issue. Sounds like you need to contact them directly and resolve it. But you always handle all this technical stuff for us. Not anymore. Dad called during my lunch break. Son, we need to have a serious conversation. There are multiple issues with our accounts, and the bank called saying our mortgage payment is going to be late. That sounds unfortunate. Ryan, what exactly is happening here? I'm reallocating my financial priorities, Dad. Being selfish like you told me I was. The silence on the other end was absolutely beautiful. By Friday evening, they were in complete panic mode. The Audi deal had exploded spectacularly. Ashley's phone was restricted to emergency calls only. Their credit cards were hitting late payment penalties, and they were facing their first unassisted mortgage payment in over 2 years. That's when they decided to escalate to direct confrontation. Saturday morning, all three of them appeared at my apartment door. I watched through the peephole as they argued on my doorstep about who should do the talking and what strategy they should use. I let them knock persistently for 5 full minutes before opening the door. Ryan, we really need to talk, Dad said firmly, pushing past me into my apartment without invitation. Ashley looked like she'd been crying for hours, which was definitely a first in my experience with her. Her usually perfect makeup was smudged, and her typical designer outfit was replaced with basic clothes I'd never seen her wear before. This situation has gone way too far, Mom declared. You're punishing the entire family because you're upset about one small incident. One small incident. They were characterizing the destruction of my Harvard Business School acceptance letter as one small incident. What exactly do you want from me? I asked calmly. We want our son back, Dad replied. This isn't who you are, Ryan. You've never been cruel or vindictive like this before. You're absolutely right. The old me would have already transferred money to fix all your problems. But the old me also believed his family cared about his future and success. Ashley finally spoke up, her voice small and defeated. Ryan, I'm really sorry about the letter. I was emotional and made a terrible mistake, but this is destroying our entire family. No, Ashley, you destroyed the family. I'm simply not enabling your destruction anymore. Please, she said, and I realized she was actually begging. I lost the Audi. I'm behind on all my bills. My manager is threatening to fire me for missing shifts. I desperately need help. Then get a second job. I can't work more hours. I need time for my business development and personal brand building. And there it was. Even facing complete financial collapse, she was still living in her delusional fantasy world. Your personal brand, I repeated slowly. The one with 180 Instagram followers. Her face turned bright red with embarrassment. That's not fair. I'm building something meaningful. You're building absolutely nothing. You're a 21-year-old, part-time retail worker with delusions of grandeur and zero work ethic. Mom gasped audibly. Ryan, how can you speak to your sister like that? Because it's the complete truth, and maybe if someone had told her the truth years ago instead of enabling her fantasy lifestyle, we wouldn't be in this situation. Dad attempted to regain control of the conversation. Son, we can work through this together, but you need to stop these account cancellations and payment disruptions immediately. People are depending on me, I interrupted. People are depending on me, just like they have been for 3 solid years. Just like you planned for me to continue for the rest of my life. I pulled out my phone and showed them the printed bank statement I'd prepared. $51,200. That's exactly how much I've given this family over 3 years. Not loans, gifts. Because none of you ever repaid a single cent. The silence was absolutely deafening. And you know what I discovered when I actually examined my banking records carefully? Someone has been stealing directly from my account, making unauthorized transfers without my knowledge or permission. Want to guess who? Dad's face went completely white. Ryan, we can explain that. You've been stealing from me for 8 months while simultaneously lecturing me about family obligations and responsibilities. It wasn't stealing, Mom protested desperately. We were sharing resources as a family. You were helping us. Help requires consent and communication. Taking money from someone's account without permission is called theft. Ashley started crying again. But these were real tears, not her usual manipulative performance. Ryan, I'm going to lose everything. My car payment is due, rent is due. All my credit cards are maxed out completely. I don't know what to do. Figure it out, like every other adult in the world does every single day. But I don't know how. I've never had to handle this before. Then it's definitely time you learned. They remained in my apartment for another hour and a half, cycling through anger, desperate bargaining, and outright begging. They offered to pay me back. With what money? They promised they would change their behavior. Sure, they would. And eventually just pleaded with me to restore some level of financial support. I refused everything. When they finally prepared to leave, Ashley turned back at my door. "You used to love me," she said quietly. "I used to think you were my sister. Now I know you're just an expensive stranger who burned my future to fund her lifestyle." After they left, I sat in my apartment, experiencing something I hadn't felt in years: complete peace. For the first time since college, my phone wasn't constantly ringing with family emergencies. My bank account belonged entirely to me. My future was completely mine to determine. The silence was absolutely beautiful. 4 weeks passed and I was settling into my new reality beautifully. No emergency calls, no guilt trips, no manipulation attempts. My savings account was growing steadily for the first time in 3 years. Then the desperate messages began arriving. "Ashley, Tuesday, 3:17 a.m. Ryan, please. I'm completely desperate. I got fired from the makeup counter for missing too many shifts. I can't make rent. I have nowhere to go. Please help me. I'll do literally anything you want. Mom, Wednesday, 1:45 p.m. Your sister is sleeping on a friend's couch now. She's lost everything. I know you're angry, but she's still your family. Please just help with her rent until she finds another job. Dad, Thursday, 7:23 p.m. Son, the bank called about foreclosure proceedings starting. We're 4 months behind on the mortgage now. I know we made mistakes, but we cannot lose this house. Your mother is having panic attacks daily. Please." I ignored every single message, but they didn't stop coming. The messages became increasingly desperate and pathetic. Ashley sent me photos of herself crying. Mom called sobbing about how the stress was destroying her health. Dad wrote long emails about family loyalty and the importance of forgiveness. Finally, they appeared at my apartment again, all 3 of them looking like they hadn't slept properly in weeks. "Ryan, please." Ashley didn't even wait for me to invite them inside. She was talking through the closed door. "I know I messed up completely. I know I was selfish and entitled and took advantage of you, but I'm homeless now. I've been staying on different couches for 3 weeks. I have $23 in my bank account total." I opened the door slowly. She looked absolutely terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes were wrinkled, and for the first time in her entire life, she wasn't wearing any makeup at all. "I'll do anything," she continued desperately. "I'll get 2 full-time jobs. I'll pay you back every single cent. I'll never ask you for anything again. Please just help me one final time." Mom and Dad looked almost as devastated. The stress of actually managing their finances without my assistance was clearly destroying them both. "We made serious mistakes," Dad admitted. "Terrible mistakes. But we're still family. Family members forgive each other. Family members also don't steal from each other," I replied calmly, "or burn each other's acceptance letters to prestigious universities." "I was incredibly stupid," Ashley burst out emotionally. "I was jealous and selfish and made the worst mistake of my entire life. But I've learned, Ryan, I've really learned what it's like to struggle and suffer." I looked at her standing there, begging me to rescue her from the natural consequences of her own actions 4 weeks ago. She was calling me selfish for refusing to buy her an Audi. Now she was homeless and desperate with no resources and no options. "You want to know what I've learned?" I said carefully. "I learned that I spent 3 years enabling a spoiled brat who viewed me as a wallet instead of a brother. I learned that my parents cared more about keeping their princess comfortable than supporting their son's future success. And I learned that removing toxic people from your life, even family members, is the healthiest decision you can make." "Please," she whispered. "I have absolutely nowhere else to go. That's not my problem to solve anymore." "Ryan," Mom started crying again, "we're going to lose the house after 19 years of living there. We're going to lose everything we built." "Then you should have considered that before burning my Harvard letter." Dad stepped forward desperately. "What do we have to do? What will it take for you to help us?" I considered his question seriously. What would it actually take? First, Ashley needs to get a real full-time job and keep it for at least 1 full year without any assistance from me whatsoever. Second, you need to pay back the $51,000 you took from me over 3 years. Third, you need to publicly admit what you did, the stealing, the manipulation, the destruction of my acceptance letter. And fourth, you need to understand that even if you accomplish all of that, I don't owe you forgiveness. $51,000. Dad's voice cracked completely. "Ryan, we don't have access to that kind of money." "Then find it. Sell the house, take out loans, liquidate your retirement accounts. Figure it out like adults." That's completely impossible, Mom protested. So was getting another Harvard Business School acceptance letter. But you didn't care about impossible when it was my problem to solve. Ashley collapsed into one of my chairs completely. I destroyed everything, she said quietly. My life, your life, our entire family, all for a stupid car. Yes, you absolutely did. She looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. Do you hate me now? I thought about her question, honestly. No, I don't hate you, but I don't love you either. You're nothing to me now. That statement broke her completely. She started sobbing uncontrollably, not the manipulative tears she'd used to get her way for years, but genuine heartbreak at realizing she'd permanently destroyed the one relationship that had always been there for her. They left that night with nothing. No money, no promises, no hope for rescue. Over the following months, I watched their lives continue falling apart through social media updates and mutual acquaintances. Ashley worked at different fast food restaurants, trying desperately to scrape together enough money for basic survival. Mom and Dad sold their house and moved into a small rental apartment after the foreclosure proceedings completed. Their comfortable lifestyle was completely gone forever.